Hey everyone, it's Mega Champ once again. I did kind of tell you that the next 3 games were short. So, here we are once again. Um Honestly, I kind of feel like I should be grateful that I'm even able to do this because I thought I heard that a Lost Soul Aside demo was coming out, and it might be, but it's not available as of a couple of minutes ago when I checked on my PlayStation 5. So I guess it's this weird, idiotic, if you ask me, situation where they're putting a demo out the day that it comes out, which is literally tomorrow. If it had been out, then this would have been delayed until after I did the demo. But I don't know. I just kind of feel like if they're gonna put out a demo, they should do it before the game comes out, not the day the game comes out. But whatever. I guess I won't be doing that then. I'll just have to hope that the game will be fine since I've already pre ordered it, but that's not really the point here. The point is, you get to look at NIKO here. Best. NIKO best. Anyway, the actual point is that it's time for another Full Thoughts video. This time for One Shot World Machine Edition. The console version for One Shot, which was originally a PC game. And the console version did not come out until, let's see here. Well, it doesn't say, unfortunately, but the console version took a lot longer to come out, basically, than the original PC version, which, as you can see here, came out in 2014. God, that's over 10 years ago. Over 10 years ago. That's a really long time. I quickly brought this up. It came out, the console version came out in 2022. So hopefully you can see how far behind I am. But yeah, that's when the console version came out. So there are a lot of things for me to say about this game. Not much else for me to say. As we all know at this point, this is just my personal feelings, thoughts, experiences, and opinions on this game. You can have your opinion, everyone can have their opinion. So that means I can have my opinion, regardless of if you like it or not, my said opinion. Also, everyone's experiences are going to obviously be different. As usual, as normal, to the best of my ability, and I never have and never will claim I'm an expert in any way whatsoever. I will do my best to go over the story of the game, the characters of the game, the world or the setting of the game, the graphics, and the gameplay as spoiler free as possible. Each game and each situation is going to be different, as you have clearly seen for yourself. If I have to talk about spoilers, then I will. But for these types of things, I always try my best to not discuss any spoilers unless it's absolutely necessary to. So, not much else for me to really say. As I pull up my lovely bullet point list here, so I actually know what I'm doing, sort of, except still not really. Anyway, yeah, cute character here. Not much else to really say. I'm blanking, so let's just get started before there's lots of awkward silence. So, the story of One Shot, or One Shot World Machine Edition. Uh, to give it a basic summary here, as spoiler free as possible, with as Not much detail is possible in case you want to play this game for yourself, which again I would say strongly recommend that you do, but you can do whatever the hell you want, obviously. The story of One Shot or One Shot World Machine Edition is a cute cat or kitten like kid, NIKO, wakes up in an unfamiliar dark looking house and finds a light bulb, quote unquote, and it turns on, quote unquote, once they collect it. They exit the house to find a dying, quote unquote, world. I mean, it is, but yeah. And this world is full of mostly robots, but some humans as well, or whatever humans are left, hint, 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 who call NIKO, the child, their messiah. Oh, wonderful. Don't you just love that? As she holds the quote unquote sun of their world in her hands, in other words, the light bulb. And she must journey to a place called the Tower to replace the broken old sun to save their dying world. That's basically the story, or a summarized version of the story without much spoilers, or any spoilers if you ask me, but what you count as spoilers, I guess, is also up to interpretation and perspective. Either way, you have to help NIKO do this to bring their new son to the tower to save their world. However, NIKO talks to you, as in literally talks to you. The player character, you, as you are playing the game, as your username or computer name or whatever name that you have on whatever platform that you play the game on. In other words, there's a lot of breaking the fourth wall in this game, as you are also called the god of this world that NIKO is in. Boy, I totally love being called a god, most of which who totally aren't evil and that you have to fight at the end of most games. That's so great. I'm not a god. Gods are evil. I'm a tweener. If you know what that word means, thumbs up to you. um But yeah, a lot of breaking the fourth wall, which is practically a part of the game and its story. Breaking the fourth wall being a part of the game. Wow, imagine that. No, that's actually very unique. Extremely unique that not a lot of games, and really very few games, do, even to this day in the year 2025, as of the year of the recording of this video. Definitely not a lot of games do that. Obviously, they break the fourth wall, but I mean like they talk directly to you as your username or something like that, or your Steam name, or your Xbox name, or your PlayStation Network name, or whatever the case may be. It's probably on Switch as well, so whatever your Switch name is. Not a lot of games do that. They don't. It makes it definitely one of the when something does that, when a game does that, it definitely makes it a lot more unique, a lot more special, and it does something that not a lot of games do. There are games that do that, which I will talk about here in a bit or eventually, but definitely not enough. Definitely not enough, which we will also talk about here in a bit. So, as you saw when I brought up the reviews, the PC version was released in 2014 or 2016. I don't know why this says 2014, but either way, that was basically close to or over 10 years ago. That's a decade. 10 years. That's a long ass time. Long ass time. Long ass time. However, some of the themes that this game talks about, robots, AI, yes again, how robots and AI learn, quote unquote, are still scarily true to this day, even almost 10 years or 10 years or over 10 years after the game was released. It's just unbelievable how something from almost 10 years with some of the themes it talks about can still be scarily true 10 years later. Seriously. If you went back in that time, 2014, 2016, whatever, and told anyone that played that game back then that the themes in the game would still be scarily true in the year 2025, they would probably think you are and call you crazy. They really would. My God, man. My God. This goddamn push for this AI bullshit. I swear to God. I swear to God. Yeah, the themes are still very scarily true to this day of what the game talks about with robots and AI and how when you code something it can't go against its programming. Man, man, I swear. I swear. Either way, the story was definitely pretty good in my opinion. Very good. Very, very good from my experience and when I played it. Despite the way that the game looked, which, obviously we'll talk more about in graphics, which I'm not an expert on, which apparently I have to say these things constantly to get it through. But either way, the story definitely sort of, quote unquote, put me into the world, so to speak. And it did keep me engaged and was very, very intriguing. And just a great story overall. I also really liked how they had the fourth wall breaking mixed into the story and into the game itself. Also very interesting, also very intriguing, and kept me engaged and unbelievably unique. Unbelievably unique. It's just a great story overall, honestly. Especially the more that you progressed in the game and the further you got in the game and the more that you sort of quote unquote learn the truth, so to speak, what the truth of the world of the game actually is, which, in case you somehow can't already tell, I won't say anything more about due to spoilers, but there's a sort of little hint there for you about how when you learn the truth about the world in this game. Now, obviously, and I guess you could call this a criticism or something negative if you want, saving the world, quote unquote, or saving a dying world, quote unquote, is kind of generic and normal for most games. A lot of games, especially JRPGs, which this is not, but I'm just saying. It's practically normal for a lot of games, in most game. But I will have to admit to you, which I literally am about to, that the game just really did find its own way to do this in a unique way, and I really did like the way that they did it and its story, like I said already multiple times. It was actually very good. I really did like the story in this game and the themes, especially with how scarily true they still are in this current year, considering the year when this game came out. Yeah, pretty great. Still great. Still holds up very, very well. If you want to like throw this sort of phrase or meaning or whatever you want to call it out there, I don't. It's aged like fine wine. In other words, it hasn't aged at all. It's still very good to this day, if you ask me. But everyone will think differently. I don't know how you could hate Lil NIKO here. How dare you hate NIKO? I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's shockingly great story, like I said, and just the way that it did the fourth wall breaking and how it implemented the fourth wall breaking into the story of the game. Very unique, very great. Loved it. Loved the hell out of it. And just so you know, before I move on to characters here, did I play this game or did I buy the console version of this game because I liked watching Markiplier play the original or the initial version? Well, if I was to sit here and say no, that would be a bold faced lie. And we all know I'm not going to do that, so there's your answer. Hey, sometimes when YouTubers play a game, it brings a lot more attention to it, which can be a good thing. Definitely a good thing in this game's particular case. But again, as always, as usual, as per normal, every situation is going to be different. So, depending on the game and the situation, and I guess the YouTuber as well sometimes, but yeah, it was just a very unique game, and when it came out on consoles, I said yes and more yes. What do you want from me? Sometimes these things are going to happen, so yeah, not much else to say about that. As we move on to the characters of this game, which there are a lot of. A lot of. So unlike Stray, I can't really show you every single last character because there's just too many, and it would make this video much longer than it really should or needs to be. I mean, let's be honest here, all of these always tend to be 40 minutes or something around that time, and it really doesn't need to be happening again, though it probably will. So I'm not going to waste too much more time or even more time on trying to show you literally all of the characters. I'm sorry. That's why you play the game for yourself, just saying. But again, do whatever you want. Just I will do the best I can, but I just can't show you all the characters. Sorry. Just can't be done. Can't be done. So, the characters of this game. Like I just said, there are quite a lot of characters in the game. Most of them robots. Wow, what a shock, considering what I said earlier. But it's not like there aren't any humans. NIKO calls herself, a human as well. Even though I don't know how that's a human, but whatever, I guess. Yeah. Sure thing. Anyway, it's not like there aren't any humans. There are, other than NIKO, but obviously some of the characters are a lot more important than others. And there actually are quite a lot of important characters. Too many for me to list. But what I will say is that in each area or each region, quote unquote, in the game, there's at least one, sometimes more, really important characters in each of these areas. That helps NIKO, and you can learn more about those characters as you progress through the game through talking to them, so on and so on and so forth. Obviously, NIKO is the most important character. That it's the main character, which is normally the most important character, as they are someone from another world, quote unquote, that was transported to the dying world, quote unquote. Wait a minute. Oh my god, it's an isekai. Oh shit, it's an isekai or isekai or however you want to say it and pronounce it. Oh god. Before it became popular and oversaturated and really done way too much. Totally not happening in anime still to this day. Totally not. It totally is. But yeah, it's technically an isekai. Technically, just like Digimon technically is, or at least the actually yeah, Digimon is as well. Well, the anime series anyway. Yeah, so that's kind of a thing. Who would have imagined before that thing became way too popular for whatever idiotic reason and oversaturated as hell? But let's not get into that. Let's not get into that. Yes, let's not get into that. So, some of the other important characters, which I can't show you all of them, but I will give you some of their names here, include Silver, Calamus, Alula, Maze, Kip, George, and more. Much more. Even more and there's even more important characters when you do the true ending or the true route. Yes, that's a thing in this game, believe it or not, which I'll talk more about later. As far as character development when it comes to this specific game, I have to admit to you, which I literally am about to again, the character development is actually done really well, honestly, in this game, despite it being another short indie game, quote unquote, or whatever you want to call it, or this, or whatever you want to call indie games, I guess. Because despite the amount of time that the game takes you to beat, less than 10 hours for me, 8 hours again, so around the same amount of time it took me to beat Stray, despite the amount of time that the game takes and the amount of time maybe the game developer had to make the game or wanted the game to be in terms of length, the character development was done shockingly really well for most of the important characters. For Silver, Calamus, and Alula too, even. All the ones that I mentioned prior, Maze, Kip, George, other ones. It was actually done really well for all of them, despite everything that I just stated. The amount of time that the game takes you to beat, the amount of time maybe the game developer wanted the game to be or had to make the game. The character development was really well done, despite the amount of time that they had to do it. So it was a great job, honestly. Really great job. Kind of similar to the character development from the two great Ace Attorney games, which they also did really well, despite the amount of time and the amount of cases that they had to do character development. So really, really well done. Great job there. Amazing job with character development in this game, despite the amount of time that the game takes you to beat. Yeah, really well done. All the characters are really great. Honestly, nothing else for me to really say. No character really annoyed me, mostly, other than one. Totally isn't the one that breaks the fourth wall, and totally isn't an AI. Anyway, most of the characters I did like. So yeah, nothing else to say. None of them really annoyed me or anything. I mean, it's not like there aren't annoying parts, but yeah, nothing like character-wise. Nothing else for me to really say or complain about or criticize or whatever when it comes to characters. So great cast of characters as well. So really well done there, and great job there as well. So we will move on to the world and the setting of the game, obviously. So I did kind of mention it prior, but just to say it again, I guess, or to recap, whatever. Like I said earlier, the world and setting of the game is a dying, quote unquote, world that is without its sun, that NIKO must save with its new sun, the light bulb, that she has in her hands and is carrying around. There are basically four, yes, only four, obviously. I mean, it took me 8 hours to beat. Main areas of the game. They are the Barrens, the Glen, the Refuge, and of course the Tower. I mean, you have to go to the Tower. What'd you expect? The Barrens is kind of like a ruined area, with some ruined buildings and stuff like that. The Glen is kind of like a small forest area. The Refuge is kind of like a big city, but small, so a city, but it has a lot of But they show it with like a lot of multiple big buildings, so maybe it's bigger than what you are allowed to explore, but that's what basically the refuge is. And then, of course, the tower is, well, the tower. I don't know what else to say about that area. Sorry. All of the areas are obviously are very unique in its own way, despite, again, which I don't like sounding like a broken record here, but sometimes it's going to happen. The amount of time that they may have had and the amount of time that it takes to beat the game. But hey, at least you got a good couple of unique areas. I mean, this is definitely one of the few games that didn't have like a desert or an ice area. Just saying. But it was made 10 years ago or somewhere around that time or longer. So, yeah. I liked the world in the setting, honestly. Despite its graphics, I really felt the world, so to speak, felt like I was in it. And it drew me in and kept me engaged the whole time. Give me an intriguing story. Give me something to care about. Do some really interesting and unique things that aren't done. I'm going to like it. I'm going to like it. That's what happened here. That's definitely what happened here. Now, obviously, also like I stated earlier, I could say more about what the world actually and truly is, but it would be massive spoilers. So, yeah. Play the game. That's how you find out. Unless you're one of the people who are like me who watched Markiplier play it, then you know. Then you know. But yeah. So here's the thing about the graphics. It's a pixel style, top down perspective adventure game. Kind of similar to the original Zelda games in a way, but that's basically what it is. It was also apparently originally made in RPG Maker. Remember that? If you're my age, you know what it is. Nobody uses it anymore, or barely anybody uses it anymore. It's all about Unity and Unreal Engine 5, which are great. Don't get me wrong, they're great. I'm just saying. It's very rarely used now, but this RPG Maker was what was used to originally make the game, which is also the same system used to make some of those RPG horror games like Witch's House, Ebe, so on and so forth. You know, those other games that Markiplier also played years and years ago. Why am I talking about Markiplier a lot? Kind of don't have a choice in this particular case, but yeah. Either way, yeah, it's for something made with RPG Maker. Amazing job. Just saying, just saying. Don't always need Unity or Unreal Engine 5. Just saying. I know Godot is a thing. G-O-D-O. Godot. Though that makes me think of the Ace Attorney character, but that's not the point. But yeah. Obviously, that means that the graphics were very simplistic. But guess what? I still enjoyed them. I still enjoyed them. I know, don't have a heart attack. Especially after what I said about Stray. Obviously, when it comes to pixel style games, there's obviously kind of a new thing called HD 2D. Thanks, Square Enix. That makes stuff like this better, quote unquote. I guess, if you want to use that term and phrasing, and more pretty, quote unquote, if you want to use that term and phrasing, I guess. But despite everything, it didn't really bother me. It didn't. In this particular case, at least. In this particular case, at least. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me say this as well, but seriously, each situation is different. Seriously. I keep saying that, I keep harping on it, I keep repeating it, but this was always going to be the case. for me anyway, each situation, each game is going to be different. It just is. It just is. So it didn't really bother me. And here's the thing. Here's the thing, okay? When you find out and when it is revealed to you what the world of this game actually is, the graphics are going to actually make a lot more sense, plot and story-wise. Just saying. There's another hint for you. Just saying. So it fit the story they were trying to portray. Imagine that. So yeah, it didn't bother me. As long as it makes sense and you're not doing it just to go like, ooh, nostalgia, ooh, pretty, then it's fine. It's fine. I'm not saying the Square Enix stuff is doing the HD 2D stuff just to be that either. Other than the very first Octopath Traveler game, but that's not the point. But yeah, it as long as it makes sense, as long as it fits what they're trying to portray, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Each situation is different. Hopefully I've said that enough. Somehow I doubt it. Somehow I doubt it. Gameplay is that it's a puzzle adventure game. You travel around to the different areas that I mentioned earlier. You talk to the characters. You collect items, which will help you later to solve puzzles. Yes, there are puzzles. And you can also use the items, duh, to help solve the puzzles and also combine the items in your inventory. Puzzle adventure game. Now, some of the puzzles, guess what? They involve the fourth wall breaking. Did you expect them not to? Really shouldn't come to the surprise of anyone. But they do involve the fourth wall breaking. This was one of the, if not the, first games to use the PC or the computer's system and its files and folders, or at least where the game's files and folders were put and saved anyway, in which you had to mess with said files and folders with them to solve the puzzles sometimes. Sound familiar? That's because this is somewhat similar to how some of the indie horror games have been accessing the people who play them, you know, the people who plays them, their webcams. Sorry, it's hard to put into words, but when you play some of these indie horror games, how it'll try to access your webcam, your microphone, you know, that stuff. Kinito Pet, Julian and Friends, Giggleland, none of those which I played myself. I watched the YouTubers play them. Yeah, that stuff. It's a little unfortunate, honestly, if I was to take it a bit further here, that it's only the indie horror games that is doing this. Kind of makes me wish that other games that aren't horror games would do this. That would make them a lot more unique and different. It's currently only the indie horror games for some reason. I don't know why. I wish I knew why. I wish I understood why, but for whatever reason, that seems to be what is sort of the trend, I guess, or what's popular right now with the indie horror games doing that. I think other games should try doing that. It could be very unique and very different. But, you know, people are going to do whatever they want at the end of the day. So, but yeah, it's definitely similar in that manner. Obviously, this particular game doesn't try to access your webcam or microphone, but I was just kind of using it as an example to what some of the indie horror games have been doing recently, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing them for that. That's great, honestly. That's wonderful. That's a massive thumbs up. Very unique, very different. Ups the factor, ups the creepiness factor, ups the atmosphere for that. I'm just kind of saying that, it would be kind of nice, just saying, if games other than the horror games would do that. But oh well, I guess. Oh well, I guess. In the console version of this game, though, obviously, if you're not playing the PC version, they had to sort of make a fake, quote unquote, computer screen and slash operating system slash desktop slash whatever you want to call it to make up for that, because consoles don't have that. They don't. So it is a little bit unfortunate, but maybe that's a good thing, because if NIKO somehow showed up on my PlayStation home screen, I would have freaked out. Because Digimon's still on there. Digimon Survive is literally still on my home screen. Just saying. But God, that would have been unique. God, that would have been unique. Just saying again. But, I mean, what choice did they really have but to do something like that? Really, what choice did they have? They really had no choice. Honestly, though, the way they did it, it was still kind of cool, the way they did that for the console version. That's just if you ask me, in my opinion. It does kind of break the sort of breaking the fourth wall aspect of it in a way, but they didn't really have much choice. So if you really want a true, if you want to call it that, experience, I guess play it on PC, but I don't trust my computer to play PC games and, trophies. So I still thought it was kind of cool. You can, they give you wallpapers and stuff that you can collect, which I'll get into here in a bit, in more detail. So it was still very cool the way they did it. It just kind of broke the sort of thing they were going for when it comes to breaking the fourth wall, but it worked. I mean, they had to do something, that's for sure. But yeah, it is what it is, unfortunately. It is what it is. And like I said earlier, you actually have to play the game twice in order to get the true route, or the true ending, quote unquote, for both of those. Kind of similar to some visual novels. Hint, hint, hint. So sort of kind of like Digimon Survive and the Danganronpa games, but also not really. It's hard to explain. I'm not good at explaining these things. Sort of. I mean, to do so without spoilers, you do have to play the game again, quote unquote, up to a certain point, but there are some differences and changes you'll see straight away. And then you have to do things slightly differently, thanks to a certain item that's already in your inventory during the second playthrough, quote unquote. And then things massively change. And you are now on the true route, or the true ending. Congratulations. So, very well done. Very well done. Also, not something a lot of games do other than visual novels. Believe it or not, I am going to quickly mention the music in this game. It's actually really good. A lot of it is very good. Very chill, quote unquote, so to speak, for the most part. Except for, one theme that involved one of the trophies. That just went in out of nowhere. Sounds like a battle theme, but it's not. Well done. Very well done. Great soundtrack. Great music. It's not like I didn't enjoy the Stray music. I did. But yeah, this is definitely one of the higher points to this game was its music. One final thing I'm going to say here, which, if you want to call it complaining, feel free to. It's my video, but, so I was trying to get the platinum trophy, in this game, or in One Shot World Machine Edition, and I did not get it because I got screwed out of it due to an unclear video guide. Remember those collectibles I mentioned before? Yeah, that's why. Normally, collectibles aren't a problem for me. That wasn't the case in this game, unfortunately. I should have gotten the platinum. I really should have. But some of the collectibles, honestly, are really hard to see, admittedly, because they blend in, so to speak, quote unquote, with some of the game environments. Like one of the collectibles is green on top of a green environment. Yeah, not great. Not great. And some of them are incredibly unclear on how you're supposed to get some of the friend profiles for some of the characters that I mentioned earlier. As, at least according to the video guide that I was trying to use for it, the character literally wasn't there. Literally in the same area where the video guide claimed where the character was supposed to be, according to this video guide, and they weren't there. Make sense of that for me. Make sense of that for me. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, honestly. And I'd be lying if I was to sit here and to tell and to say to you that this ridiculous shit didn't ruin my experience. Yeah, it did. It absolutely did. It didn't. I'm not going to let something like that affect my score or my personal score for the game. But the way that they did this for the console version, not great. Not great. Just saying. Ridiculous. Ridiculous overall, in my opinion. Or at least in my experience. Just saying. You know, it's literally me, if that makes you feel any better. But just saying, I should be sitting here with a one-shot platinum, and I am not. Because of this ridiculous, unclear bullshit. So, yeah, I have a right to not be very happy about it. Other than that, this was a great game. It was. It was actually a really good game. Really good game. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I enjoyed this game as much as Stray, because, again, bold-faced lie. But it was still a great game overall. It really was. Just everything about it was great. Despite, its art style and graphics. I literally never said graphics was everything. It helps in some occasions, Stray, and it doesn't matter at all in other occasions, in this game's particular case. So yeah, graphics aren't everything. Graphics aren't everything. I've pretty much said the exact opposite. Like I said earlier, every situation and game is literally different. That's it. What else did you expect? What else did you expect me to say? There's nothing else for me to say. Every situation in every game is going to be different. I never said graphics didn't matter. They do. But they don't matter as much as you may think. As long as it fits what they're trying to portray, that's about all that really matters. It's about all that really matters. And it fit what this game was trying to do and go for. And it fit its story when you find out about certain things. That's something to keep in mind as well. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. Here's your here's another look at the critic scores. For some reason, there aren't overall scores for the version I played, the PlayStation 4 version that I played on my PlayStation 5 through backwards compatibility, but mostly it's pretty positive. As far as what my personal score would be, it's higher than the critic score, but slightly lower than this. My personal score would be an 8.8 out of 10. Lower than Stray, higher than Rayman. Only higher than Rayman because there wasn't ridiculous difficulty other than the me being screwed out of a platinum trophy, but just saying. But yeah, that's why it's an 8.8. I didn't enjoy it as much as Stray, but it was still a very good game. Very good game. Just more reasons and more instances of me needing to play more indie games, which I will try to. I literally just bought a new one a week or so ago, or whenever it was. So, yeah, I will try to keep a much more open mind, like I said during my Stray video. And, you know, as long as it's not a Souls-like or a roguelite, I might play it. Unless it's a really hard Metroidvania, then maybe not so much. Or maybe I just need to find a Metroidvania that's my style. I am intrigued by Memories in Orbit, Mio, so, yeah. I am going to do my best to keep a much more open mind when it comes to indie games, but it's a lot easier said than done. It's a lot easier said than done. Just saying. You can't just be instantly intrigued when you know that there are styles of games that are clearly too hard for you, but I will do my best. I will do my best. But like I said before, no promises. No promises. Can't promise anything because then I'll just end up breaking it. So technically my next game is Trails from Zero, The Legend of Heroes. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I have not been very pleased with the Trails franchise thus far. I haven't. They've been way too hard. Harder than they really need to be. Harder than they should be. For me, at least. And I haven't really enjoyed any of them thus far. So, I might not do a full thoughts video for this game. Just letting you know. Obviously, we will see when I complete the game, and I will make a final decision when I complete Trails from Zero. But right now, I have zero confidence. Literally zero confidence. I will be doing a full thoughts video for Trails from Zero. Obviously, things can change. Obviously, time will tell. But I'm not expecting it to happen. I'm not. So because of that, I brought this other one up here. You may not see another full thoughts video from me until Sonic Frontiers, which is after Trails from Zero. Oh boy, what is going to happen when I talk about this game? Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm not the one who said that they wanted a high critic score. That would be Sega. Which still makes that bold prediction of mine correct. I'm not the one who said that. Sega is. Sega was. We'll see how I feel about this game. Boy, is that going to be interesting. Oh boy. Oh boy. So if I don't give you, if you don't see me or hear from me for Trails from Zero, full thoughts, then you will for Sonic Frontiers. However, September is coming up, which means more gaming events. A rumored Nintendo Direct and a rumored State of Play. Oh boy. Oh boy. So you might hear from me a bit more. Maybe. No promises. No guarantees. So there you go. That's my full thoughts on One Shot. The story, the characters, the world and setting, the graphics, and the gameplay, and the music too. Too long. Too long. I did have to sort of talk about possibly not doing a full thoughts video, so I told ya, it's always too long. So we'll finish up here. I'll see you when I see ya. Not sure when. If I don't do full thoughts for this, then it'll be for this. Or for if I think there's enough to talk about gaming stuff and events. So until then, this is Mega Champ saying next time I'll be providing you with more unlimited guidance. NIKO! Best. Don't hate on NIKO. Okay, I'm done. Bye. Jeez. I swear. Bye.